McLeod Plantation is a former slave plantation located on James Island near Folly and Maybank Roads. It's an important 37-acre Gullah Geechee heritage site that has been carefully preserved. Well, Charleston County Parks has embarked on a cemetery study and is seeking descendants of the people buried there to help with future plans. Let's welcome Adam Ronan, Land Resource Planner for Charleston County Park and Recreation Commission. It's good to have you.
Thank you.
So, Charleston is kind of known for continually making certain discoveries, historic discoveries, archaeologically speaking. So tell us what's going on at McLeod Plantation that's so unique.
Yeah, so we're really excited about what we're doing out there. Charleston County Parks, you'll be surprised to hear that has 8 historic cemeteries located throughout the county. There is one at McLeod Plantation, as you just mentioned, and so we're currently doing what we call a site-specific study. So we're really trying to understand what is actually out there in the cemetery in terms of who's buried there, the history of the cemetery, the boundaries of the cemetery, and really trying to get a feel for what's out there so we can help with future planning initiatives at the park.
And I would imagine not knowing too much about the project itself, but that sounds like a daunting task to try to account for people who've been buried there. I mean, some for over 100 years.
It's incredibly daunting. The earliest surveys that we've had indicates that the cemetery goes back to the late 1700s. So it's about 150 to 200 years old. So a lot of layers of history at the cemetery and at the park itself. So it is daunting. We're fortunate enough to hire a professional consulting firm to help with that project. They're the experts, and so they guide us through that process.
What was the impetus for this project?
Yeah, so 2 years ago, Charleston County Parks and Recreation decided that we needed to create a management plan for all of our cemeteries. As I mentioned, we have 8 total in our parks, and so we really wanted to provide a framework for us to help preserve and maintain and manage these properties going forward. So that provided us a broad framework, so to speak. So based on that, then we want to do site-specific work to really get into the details of each cemetery. We decided McLeod would be the first one because, as you mentioned, it's very visible off of Folly Road and Country Club Drive, and so and it's more well known among the community. So that was our first site-specific project, and we just wrapped that up a couple months ago.
And how do you go about, though? Are these graves typically marked, unmarked, combination of both?
Combination of both. So there are upwards of 15 to 20 headstones with names on there. They're interspersed in the woods, so they're very discreet and hidden. But the vast majority of the burials at McLeod and most of the cemeteries are unmarked graves. So essentially there are depressions in the ground that we kind of identified through different surveying techniques. They use what they call ground penetrating radar. For McLeod, it was a little more difficult because it is set in the woods. But we did use that just to help with the investigation. But yeah, there's a lot of layers out there. We did have them do some archival research to help determine who is buried out there. We've worked with family descendants for years and years now to help understand family connections and the history of the property. So we continue to do that.
And it's important to let people know, though, that there is no intention to disrupt or disturb the ground.
Correct.
So there's not going to be any kind of DNA testing or anything like that?
Correct. No, not at the moment, for sure. So in terms of, disturbing the ground, for sure, it's more of a hands-off approach in terms of preserving the site as is. We may look to open up the site just based on family descendants' wishes, but we're having careful discussions with them to ensure that we're doing everything we do out there properly.
Yeah. And what are you hoping by the end of this project, at least the next phase, what are you hoping to achieve?
Yeah, I think the next phase we're talking about possibly collecting oral histories from family descendants, so we hope to engage with them to learn a little bit more about their family. And once we learn more about the family, if they're willing and open to this, we'll be happy to interpret that. We want to tell the story of the site, tell the story of their families and how they've contributed to the history of Charleston County. Whether that's through signage or videos, we don't know yet, but certainly that's an option.
Such a treasure and a gem to preserve and in their honor.
Absolutely a treasure and gem.
Thank you so much, Adam. It's been such a pleasure.
You're welcome.
Thank you. We're back in 2 minutes.